Okay, so for this video I'm going to show how to use the Zerologon attack in a CTF scenario that I made up. The prompt that I created was to get into the domain dc.bread.local at this IP address and then find the file honeypot.txt under the user croissant. We can assume that we already have this exploit script and impacket is installed. So I've already got the domain controller set up on this virtual box. So at this point all we need to do is run this script. So if we come here, um, what are we passing to it and what is the script doing? So from the last video, this is going to accomplish steps 1 through 4. So we're going to authenticate with the 8 0 bytes, and then we're going to set the sign and seal to 0, and then we're going to I forget what step 3 was, but essentially we're going to get to the point where we can set the domain controller password or the Active Directory password to 0. And then from that we'll be able to use the secrets dump file or script. So what I'm passing to it right now is just the IP address for the domain controller, and I'm passing it the domain controller's name, which is DC. So let's run this, and then it's performing these authentication attempts, and it says that we got it complete. So what are these right here? What was it doing with this? This was basically every time that we were trying to do step 1. So step 1 has that 1 to 256 chances it will work. Basically, that's just doing this brute force attack and trying it until it works. It eventually got it, and now we can run this command. So this is a impacket. Whoops. This is an impacket script that basically will give out the user hashes for this domain controller. So what I'm passing to it is, again, the host name, the domain controller, and then I'm passing it the name of the domain itself, which is bread. And then we need this $sign at this IP address. We use just DC because we're using we want the domain controller version of this script. Um, and yeah, it'll show the hashes once I run this. It's going to prompt me for my password because I'm doing a sudo for the first time in this session, and I typed it in wrong. And there we go. So it's going to prompt me for another password. This is actually for the domain controller, but from this exploit script that we used, we set that to a null string. So for this, all we have to do is press enter, and there we go. Now we've got the hashes for all of the users. We have the KRBTGT hashes, and then from this, we can essentially log on as any user using this WMI exec script. So, whoops, did it again. So if we paste that here, this is also another impacket script. Basically what this is going to do is it's going to try to log on to this which is, so we've got the domain, we've got the user, and then we've got the IP address. So we're going to try to log on to the domain or to the Active Directory, but we don't know the password, right? But we've gotten the password hash. So if we just take this, copy this whole thing, and then give it to it with this minus hashes, what it's going to do is try to log on to this user using these hashes. And so if we run this, there we go. We get this shell, and if we run the who am I prompt bread croissant, and then if we check the host name, DC. So we're into the domain controller at this point. So from here, I just kept these here because uh, this is a command prompt shell, so you can't use Linux file functions, whatever they're called. You can't use ls. ls won't work. cd doesn't work. So instead, or not cd, cat doesn't work, which I'll show later on. Basically, we're gonna say dir. See, okay, so we have these directories. Let's try users. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see what we got now. I accidentally forgot to create the honeypot file in the first place. So I have made a user folder now for croissant. So if we go into croissant, there again, and now we see honeypot.txt. So we can't use the cat command because this is a command prompt. So if we use type and then honeypot.txt, there we go. We found what was inside of the honeypot. It was Winnie the Pooh's hand.